Welcome to Market-Based Innovation by Jenna Allen and Nicole Metz. This case study focuses on the strategies Netscape used to launch its Navigator browser in 1994, changing the internet as we know it. Then on Microsoft's strategy as it entered the market, later dominating it with Internet Explorer. Finally, we'll look at Firefox and the strategy it used to put an end to Microsoft's browser reign. So let's talk about strategy. We know in order to be successful, a company must define what it would like to achieve and then draw a comprehensive roadmap for how it intends to reach those goals. Strategic management allows a company to gain and maintain a competitive advantage, the advantage a company has over its competitors. This competitive advantage is most effective when it's sustainable, that is, when it's difficult for competitors to overcome or imitate. Michael Porter's 3 generic strategies describe how a company pursues competitive advantage. Number 1 is cost leadership. If a firm is offering the lowest price by vigorous pursuit of cost reduction, it is following a cost leadership strategy. We think of Walmart or Southwest Airlines as examples. Number 2 is differentiation. If it targets its segments based on attributes other than price, such as brand loyalty, innovation, higher product or service quality, it is pursuing a differentiation strategy. We definitely think of Apple when we think of an example. Number 3 is focus. If a firm is narrowing its focus on one or even a few segments, it is using a focus strategy. The case study here covers both cost leadership and differentiation strategies. The focus is mostly broad until we come to Mozilla. The strategic marketing model devised by Wilson Zare in 2013 breaks down every product or service into its essential marketing elements: product, place, promotion, price, and people. Each of these, in addition to the brand and the strategy, constitutes the market offering. When we add innovation to any of these elements, we get market-based innovation. Different strategies led to different dominance in the browser market. We can see on the graph Netscape, the creator of one of the first graphical browsers, took the lead in the browser market in 1995 and rose rapidly with no competition. That is, until Microsoft entered with a new strategy that was so effective it eventually put Netscape out of business. Microsoft's power rose and took full control over the market. But with so little competition, there was no need for innovation, making a perfect scenario for Netscape to make a comeback as Mozilla Firefox. So wait, let's back up. It's impossible to understand the importance of the web browser without first understanding the internet and the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. These are two very different things. The World Wide Web is to the internet what a bus is to a highway. This is a way of sharing information and getting from one place to another using the available infrastructure. J.C.R. Licklider first came up with the concept of a galactic network or internet in the 1960s. Through the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, aka DARPA, research was set in motion that would culminate in the ability of computers to communicate remotely. 7 years later, ARPANET, the precursor to what we know as the Internet, was born. Email came shortly after, followed by Transmission Control Protocol Internet Protocol, TCP/IP, going mainstream in the 1980s by various companies. In 1989 and 1990, Sir Tim Berners-Lee conceived and developed 3 technologies that would change the world: Hypertext Markup Language, HTML, Uniform Resource Locator, URL, and Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. Berners-Lee believed the potential of this technology could only be realized if it were available to everyone, and so it was. And with the advantage of being a medium of expression itself, the hype about the World Wide Web went viral via the web. To understand just how rapidly the World Wide Web was growing at this time, we can look at this graph comparing the growth of two of the largest internet service providers, ISPs, which were how most users accessed the web, to the growth of GDP. CompuServe was a comparative slow grower at 36% a year, which still outstripped the U.S. GDP at a rate of 9 to 1 in 1994 and 13 to 1 in 1995. AOL, the giant of the group, grew by more than 100% during these years, outpacing GDP by more than 89 to 1 in 1995. In 1993, the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, the NCSA, developed a browser called Mosaic, which was the first graphical browser with a primary goal of ease of installation across all major computing platforms. In 1994, the Mosaic Communications Corporation was born. Founded by Mark Andreessen and others who had worked on the Mosaic browser, along with Jim Clark, Mosaic released Mosaic Netscape 0.9 in October 1994. Just 2 months later, they released Netscape Navigator 1.0 and renamed themselves Netscape Communications in December 1994. In 1995, Microsoft made an offer to Netscape. They would buy 15% of the company and in return wanted a seat on the board and the rights to license Netscape technology. Netscape CEO James L. Barkdale stated, "The deal would be like letting the fox into the henhouse," and declined the offer. Microsoft's operating systems controlled about 80% of the world's PCs in 1995. Microsoft was actually preoccupied with Windows 95 for the first half of the year and was nearly completely absent from the internet and the growth of Netscape. That is until Pearl Harbor Day, December 7, 1995, when Bill Gates dropped his own bomb, publicly announcing his plans to extend the internet across Microsoft's product range. Keep in mind, at this time, Netscape had around 700 employees and $80 million in sales. Awesome for a new company. While Microsoft had 17,000 employees and $6 billion in sales. Netscape stock fell 28% within a week of the Pearl Harbor speech. This was the beginning of the first round of what is known as the browser wars. Microsoft added native TCP/IP support in Windows, as well as bundling the Internet Explorer web browser into Windows 95. This meant IE was rolled out in all new computers running the Windows operating system. From the start, Netscape and Microsoft marketed their browsers very differently. Netscape offered free 90-day trials. Once users had been using the product for 90 days, the cost was between $39 and $49. Their total revenues approached $86 million in 1995 and jumped an astounding 306% to almost $350 million in 1996. At the beginning of 1997, Netscape was enjoying a user base of more than 46 million people, which translated to a market share of around 80%. Navigator was called one of the most successful products ever launched in the history of the computer industry. They deserved this praise for the way in which they managed their product offering. Product. Rigorous testing not only reveals Navigator as a product that is easy to use, but also one which receives high marks on issues that matter most to enterprise managers, that is, security, interoperability, and price. Price. By wheeling the product into a big corporate site for a free 90-day trial, Netscape quickly gained access to millions of desktops, with plans to turn on the revenue spigot 90 days later. Promotion. Initially a smart move, Navigator was combined with a product called Communicator, which included an email client, group discussions, and conferencing features. Netscape ended up reverting back to a standalone product later that year. Place. 45% of sales were to large corporate accounts. 20% were from over 70 OEM agreements with companies like IBM, HP, and Sun. The remaining 35% through value-added resellers and retail outlets. Interestingly, less than 5% of sales were made over the web, but remember, these were the days of dial-up. Although Netscape continued to grow in 1996 and 1997, the battle with Microsoft began to show. Microsoft competed aggressively, and by the end of 1997, Netscape's share of the market fell to 50 to 60%. Microsoft had two key factors of consumer demand in their favor. First, the World Wide Web was growing at an incredibly rapid pace, opening the market to enough new users to capture the market. And second, browser users were unwilling to switch browsers once they had one in place. Microsoft had a very competitive marketing strategy targeted to those new users. Product. Microsoft kept the quality of Internet Explorer comparable to Navigator, later expanding availability from just Windows 95 to multiple platforms. Price. In contrast with Netscape, Microsoft was willing and able to sustain losses to gain market share and offered Internet Explorer for free to everyone. Both browsers were head-to-head in quality and design, but Microsoft gave IE free, whereas Netscape charged $39 to $49 for Navigator. Promotion. It was the only online service that came bundled with Windows 95, and it shipped with 90% of the new computers sold in the world. Place and people. Internet Explorer was available through the web, but it was also offered through a hardware-software bundle and through internet service providers. Microsoft was in control of the key distribution channels through which new users acquired their first web browser. Microsoft's revenue skyrocketed from over $5.9 billion in 1995 to nearly $14.5 billion in 1998. In 1997, a Net Action survey determined the two factors affecting a consumer's decision as to which browser to use were number one, the computer's operating system, and number two, the user's ISP. By 1998, Netscape's market share fell by 20 points, and Microsoft's grew the same amount. That year, Microsoft was taken to court by the U.S. government, who claimed their market practices violated the Sherman Act. The government argued that by bundling their Internet Explorer browser with the Windows operating system, Microsoft was asserting monopolistic power in the market. But the damage was already done. Netscape, which saw a 1,963% growth in its second year, 306% growth in its third year, 54% growth in its fourth, was facing a loss in its fifth. Netscape merged with AOL in 1998 and completed the merger in 1999. By 2003, Microsoft's market share exploded to a massive 95.4%. Sitting comfortably at the top, Microsoft's innovation had stalled when it came to Internet Explorer. It was simply the best-known browser out there. Due to the continued decline of Navigator even after the AOL merger, AOL spun the browser off with $2 million in seed money, forming the Mozilla Foundation. Their browser gained major attention and rapidly emerged as the best web browser available. After a few name changes, Firefox was born. Where Netscape had marketed itself as an innovator through differentiation, which came at a price, and Microsoft as a cost leader, Mozilla chose to pursue its competitive advantage through a niche market focus, offering free product under constant innovation, but to power users who didn't care for Microsoft's products and/or business practices. The website spreadfirefox.com was launched, which gave incentives for members to promote Firefox. The website also offers user engagement, encouraging feedback from users, arranges meetups with users, encourages and facilitates community volunteering, and of course allows for donations. Considering the strategic marketing model, it is clear that Mozilla's focus was on people. This drove its product innovation, giving it a strong competitive advantage. Internet Explorer and Firefox 2 were released within days of each other in October 2006, and their market shares that year were very close. Microsoft was caught off guard. The years ahead saw their share of the browser market declining up to 10 points a year. Mozilla, on the other hand, saw theirs surge. Conclusion. Looking over the 7 marketing elements in Xero's strategic marketing model, we find the following impacts. Product. Mozilla's product started out different, but was easily and quickly copied by Microsoft, providing no real long-term strategic advantage. People, promotion, and brand. The people to whom Mozilla marketed its product made up a disenfranchised user base. Mozilla's marketing efforts and product offering gave them an immediate competitive advantage. However, this did not provide a long-term strategic advantage. Price. Both browsers are free. This marketing element was most certainly a huge factor in the first browser war, but it did not play a part in our Internet Explorer versus Mozilla analysis. Place. Internet Explorer is still bundled with all Microsoft Windows operating systems, and it is still the market leader. Firefox is a free download for any operating system, but our analysis clearly demonstrates the advantages of being the default program installed when someone boots up their laptop or computer for the first time. The place element did not offer Mozilla a strategic advantage. Strategy. Our analysis clearly shows that Xero was correct in his assertion that changing from the paid model of Netscape Navigator to the free open source business model of Mozilla offered a competitive advantage that broke even the nearly monopolistic hold of Microsoft's Internet Explorer on the market. There are definitely other factors that were not addressed in this research. However, it is clear that Mozilla's business model was pivotal. They could not have achieved this level of market penetration with the same model used by Netscape in the 1990s. Thank you for watching Market-Based Innovation.